I've never seen this before. I've seen foxes sort of interacting like this. I don't know if they're playing or fighting or what they're doing, but they've been doing this for a really, really long time. And I keep hearing them in the background when I'm playing. So I don't know if this is... This just seemed to be locked into this exchange with each other, and no one in the household has a relationship with either of these foxes. So I'm not really even sure why they're hanging about, but they keep doing this. This has honestly been going on for probably about 4 hours in game. And even when I'm not concentrating on it, I can still hear them in the background. It's very strange. Hi there, welcome to my channel and welcome to 1795 of the Decades Challenge. It's been a little while since I uploaded 1794. I have had some issues recording this. I spoke about it in my live streams that after I added the Enchanted by Nature expansion pack, it's caused a number of issues with the game, not to mention some of the updates that we've had. I have seen a lot of PC players saying that they've had issues as well, but I feel like as a console player I got hit a little bit harder. But I do have all the footage now, it's all together now, and with that let's get going with 1795. Our first day of 1795, Sunday, the start of the year, is due to be Beth's birthday. She's due to age up from a young adult to an adult, but when I went across to her house to do this, I forgot that you can't age up a pregnant sim. So I had her all ready to go, but I'd kind of forgotten that at the end of last week, at the end of 1794, she asked if she should try for a sixth baby, and we said yes. So she's not due to give birth until Tuesday, so at that point I'll come back and age her up, but we'll have to hold on that for just now. Something I did do this week, and it's part of the reason why this episode has taken so long to come out, is that I did quite a few building changes, starting with the main household here. I said I wanted to make some of the corridors a little bit wider and make a couple of other changes just to make it a little bit easier for filming. I had issues with this as well because I rebuilt this house 2 or 3 times and the game crashed and I lost all my work because, again, I was having all those issues, but I did eventually get the changes made. I also went to the park in Henford-on-Bagley and I've started turning it into a graveyard. I've kind of left it as the park that it is, but I put Robert's grave into it and I'll be using it to place the family gravestones. I don't want them on my lot because I'm going to end up with ghosts coming into the house, which I don't really want. And I think it's more appropriate to the challenge and to the nature of the storyline if we have a separate graveyard and I build up the graves there. It doesn't look great at the moment because I just put a few things in because I was having issues with building by. I didn't want to spend too long in that in case I lost my progress, but I will show that here as well. So here I am with Rory because Rory has Robert's grave in his inventory. So I just put a couple of buildings in. The stone structure in the background there has been added in, and I've added a couple of the sort of headstone items from Build By and some of the basic things that I needed, which I think was just a couple of benches and some other things to make it work as a graveyard, because with Life and Death you have the option to make a lot a graveyard, and I changed it from a park to a graveyard for this purpose. So I'll try and build an area that will become the family graveyard, but like I say, for now it's just Robert that's there. And this maybe sounds a bit mean, but engraving the epitaph, I just put which generation Robert is from, just partly as a reminder to myself when I come back here. Their name is on the grave anyway. When you hover over it, you get the little pop-up that shows the name of the sim it covers. So I've just put Gen 0 against Robert because Robert and Mary came into this challenge. Robert was an elder at the start of the challenge and Mary was an adult at the end of her adult life stage. So technically Penny, Rory, Beth and Stuart are the first generation in this game, so they'll be the Gen 1. And the other reason I needed to make the graveyard is because Monday, the second day and partway into 1795, Mary has died of old age. So she will also be going to the graveyard to join Robert. And that's officially our parents of Beth and Penelope now out of the story. Sadly, they've died out. Our Gen Zero is gone. And it's now fully about Penny and Rory and Beth and Stuart and their children. And it's now their story. And the farm is now fully the property of Rory and Penny. And once again, Penny is just ecstatically happy that one of her parents has died. Not in the slightest any negative emotions. And this is my first experience with the balance imbalance going badly for one of my Sims, because Penny got an ailment from going through this. Despite the fact that she seems upbeat and happy about her mother's death, she has contracted an ailment. And she's got, I'm not sure if that's sweat or tears supposed to be dripping off her face, because she doesn't particularly look like she's feeling any particular emotion. Rory is at least grieving. It only seems to have affected Penny, but we'll just have to see how that plays out. So Rory has developed a fear of death, and Alexander's decided he's just going to chat with and become best mates with the Grim Reaper, which is probably a good thing because he'll be seeing the Grim Reaper again. Hopefully not too soon, but I'm sure before not too long he'll be seeing the Grim Reaper again. One of the side effects of Penny's ailment that she has is that she just keeps compulsively cleaning. So she's just randomly started doing laundry in the middle of the night, even though I didn't ask her to do it. So now she's supposed to be going to the toilet, but instead she's just walking through the walls of the house and through the bushes, and I think she's just going to walk right off the map. That's actually quite strange and concerning when she's very sad and she's got an ailment and she just walks away like that. The implication isn't good there. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to close the game and come back in because she's just leaving us. So I'm just going to check if Beth's had her baby. It's Tuesday. She should have... Yep, there we go. She's had her baby, Jackson. Jackson? It's another boy anyway. So Margaret remains the only girl in that family, the only daughter of Elizabeth and Stuart. So now that Beth has given birth, I'm going to go across to the other household so that I can age Beth up to an adult. And we'll just pretend that that happened on Sunday. And here we are. Beth is going to age up to an adult today. Just waiting for her to blow out her candles. Apparently she didn't manage it the first time around. And there we have it. Beth is now an adult, or in the adult life stage. It's Wednesday. We're now almost halfway through 1795. And I want Penny and Rory to try for a baby. The second household of Stuart and Elizabeth, now that they've got 6 children, I will not be allowing them to have any more children. I mean, the children will not be leaving home anyway, so their house is at capacity, so they literally can't. But in this household, I am going to have another child, and that's really nice that they have a wholesome romantic dynamic. I'll definitely say yes to that. But yeah, we want to have at least one more child in our main household here. I'll stop after this pregnancy for Penny and Rory, even if it's just one child. Obviously, there's a chance it could be twins or triplets, because we've now only got 4 Sims in the house with Mary gone. We've only got Penny, Rory, Alexander, the toddler, and Anne, the infant. So I had to take a few attempts there. Penny didn't get pregnant the first few times, but she is pregnant this time, and I think that was like after at least 4 or 5 attempts. But that's her pregnant. She's away to share the big news with Rory, and that looks like that's Bruce coming to visit in the background. He's the oldest child in our second household. So she's telling Rory that we're going to have another member of the family, and Rory's always wanting to have more babies, so he's happy about that. Like I say, that will be the last child born for this generation. I'm not going to have any more babies in the main household, and in the secondary household they literally can't have any more babies anyway. So we're having quite a nice family scene here in the living room. Rory's playing his violin, which he almost constantly does. And we've got Penny sitting with Anne, and Alexander's next to her having a meal. And it's just nice to see them all together and happy, despite the fact that obviously there's been a loss in the family this week. But the focus now is on the new generation up and coming. So Penny has suddenly gone under a little physical change because apparently she's now got another ailment. She's now got one that makes her void of emotion and she's constantly in a fine mood. And the worst part about this, aside from the fact that I keep getting jump scared by her looks, the worst part about this is that she keeps breaking things. Every time she uses a sink or goes near the fridge, she breaks it. And I could go and see a fairy and get a cure, but I promised myself that to try and keep things as authentic as possible, I wouldn't cure any illnesses, but that was before ailments came into the game. So it says it should just end after 3 days. So I'm going to let her just ride it out and hope that after the 3 days she gets well and doesn't have any more issues, because unfortunately she took that first one, it lasted 3 days and then immediately turned into another ailment. But I believe one of the patches is supposed to have addressed the fact that ailments are rampant right now, so hopefully she will recover from this and then be fine. So another thing about Thursday is that today is Alexander's birthday. I'm hoping that Penny manages to make this cake without breaking the oven. Yep, she seems to have managed. So I'm now going to age Alexander up to a child. Just got Rory to bring Alexander over because Penny was never really getting around to it. So he's going to blow out his candles now, and there he goes. He is going to age up to a child, and I'll have to pick a trait for him based on what sort of personality or how I think he should be, based on how I feel he's been in the game so far. For the aspiration, I won't be completing the child aspirations. And to be honest, I probably won't really be completing anyone's aspirations. Maybe as we come more into modern times, I will, because I'll do career-related ones. And the children will be children for longer because lifespans will be longer. But I'm picking Social Butterfly, which I have done in my live streams as well for the children there. It's one of the easiest ones to get completed because you don't need to have like the monkey bars or the creativity table or chess sets, or I mean I've got a chess set in this house anyway, but you need various other bits of equipment to complete the other aspirations, whereas the Social Butterfly one, they literally just need to speak to other Sims. So he will get some progress on that. And in terms of a personality, I'm kind of humming and haying. I was tempted to pick an animal related one because he is going to be running the farm, and I at some point wanted to have a horse on the farm, but wasn't quite ready for it yet. So I've ended up just going with outgoing because he's been quite confident. He's approached visitors when they've come in about. He went and started speaking to the Grim Reaper of his own accord. So I thought it was best to make him outgoing. And I absolutely hate the hair that he's grown up with. In other colours it maybe looks better, but with the colour of hair that he's got, it looks absolutely ridiculous. So I will be going into cast to give him a makeover very quickly. So here he is, and I'm just having a quick look at the outfits the game assigned him, which are, as you would expect, all just highly random. Pyjamas there's probably the most coherent outfit that he had, or this swimming outfit's not too bad. I won't be keeping any of them, but some of them were slightly better options than others. The hairstyle I don't mind, but the colours really isn't doing it for me, especially for a child to have the dark and the platinum blonde. On an adult, yeah, you would maybe have the hair colours like that, but a child wouldn't have a dye job like that. So I can see here that I can choose the same hairstyle without the different colours in it, so I'll probably just go for that because the hairstyle's not too bad. I'm not looking to make huge cosmetic changes to my Sims in CAS. I want them to inherit the genetics of their parents and to look like their parents and to carry forward the look of the family. I would only make changes if the game does what it sometimes does and gives them like it's usually the chin that I have issues with. Usually they end up with like a massive overbite or a massive underbite. And if something like that happens, I would adjust it if it wasn't accurate to how their parents had looked. Okay, so I have finished up with Alexander, so I will show you all the outfits and looks that he has now. So this is his everyday wear, which I thought looked like sort of farmer clothes. This is his formal wear, which I think might actually also be his party wear. And this is his sportswear. Again, we're going with this sort of dungarees. The pyjamas for the kids are actually less period appropriate than they are for toddlers and infants. The party wear is the same as the formal wear. And again, the swimwear, very limited options for kids, so he has to go in a semi-modern swimming costume. His hot weather wear is the same as his everyday wear, and his winter wear is, I thought those boots looked like they were maybe like muddy boots, and I gave him the gloves and the hat, just so he could look like he's kept a little bit warmer. It's strange to me that it's harder to find clothing for the children that looks like it's from an older time period than it is to find for the toddlers and infants, because there's less selection for the toddlers and infants, but weirdly they have more clothing that looks like it would be from either a poorer family or from older times. So I'm not entirely happy with how he looks, but I'm just going with it for now, and to be honest, I've only got to do it for 2 more kids because the next generation will be a little bit further forward in time and it will probably be a little bit easier. And also, as the family comes along, my plan was that their wealth would increase because each generation will build up the farm a little bit more so they can start to wear clothing and have nicer things around the house. But we're not quite at that stage yet for this first generation. And that's our 2 houses there. The main household, we've got the 4 Sims and Penny is pregnant, and in the second household we have a very full household with 8 Sims. Something that is quite useful about having Alexander as a child now, he can help around the farm. So I've just got him fishing from our local pond now, which also helps build his mental skills. But he can also do things like feed the chickens and clean out the chickens, and he can feed and milk and even clean the cow. So it's good, we've got an extra set of hands to help around the farm. So it's now Friday, we're nearing the end of 1795, and it's time for another birthday, and it is going to be Anne's birthday. Anne will be aging up from an infant to a toddler, and Penny is very heavily pregnant, so it's good timing, and yes, I did time that deliberately. I did plan it so that as a child moves to a toddler, or rather, one child moves to a toddler before the next child is born, because I didn't want to have newborns and infants in the house. So we'll age Anne up and we'll see how she looks, and I'll give her a makeover. In terms of her traits, again, I'm just making the toddlers independent so that they're a little bit easier for potty training and what have you. But I will give her more appropriate personality traits when she becomes a child. And Anne has grown up with Penny's red hair. Alexander got the dark hair off of Rory, but Anne has got Penelope's red hair, definitely. And she actually looks quite good, but I'm going to go in and give her a makeover anyway, just to get her into period-appropriate clothing. What she's wearing right now isn't absolutely ridiculous, but I'll just give her a couple of little changes. So here is Anne here as a toddler in Cass. So I'm going to change her hair, because as much as I think that's quite cute, I kind of want to just change it up a little bit to something a bit more rustic. I kind of wanted to see if I could give her, I've done this before with a toddler, they have that long hairstyle with the headscarf on it that Penny wears to bed. So I'm probably going to give her that hairstyle. That's the one I was looking for, that one there. So I'm just going to go through and pick some outfits, and once I'm done I'll show you how she looks at the end. Okay, I spent a little bit longer on Anne than I did on Alexander, partly because, like I say, there's actually better period clothing for the children, and there's always more clothing for female Sims than there is for male Sims, even when they're at this life stage. So this is her everyday wear. She's got this dress here and she's got the headscarf on there. This is her formal wear. This is her sleepwear. And then her party wear is the same as her formal wear, with her hair up and the nicer dress. And then I had to pick swimwear. I just picked whatever because, again, not great choices. And this is her warm weather wear. And then this is her winter wear. So I gave her the gloves, the boots and the hat as well. Although the chances are she might age up before we get into the winter season. But anyway, that's Anne done. And today, Friday, is also another birthday over at the second household. So I'm just going across there just now. The baby that Beth had earlier this week will age up to an infant. And when he was born, she named him Jackson. So I'm just going to give him a different name as well. So here is Jackson here. And I'll just get Elizabeth to age him up. And we'll see how he looks. I'm probably not going to spend a huge amount of time giving him a makeover as an infant. I'll probably just change his general everyday wear because we don't really play with his second household as much. And they aren't infants for very long before they age up anyway. Okay, so here is Jackson here, and he has got the darker hair. By the looks of it, it looks like he's got Beth's darker hair because most of the children had the blonde hair from Stuart apart from Margaret. But he does have the darker hair. I'm going to change his hairstyle. Okay, so I'm going with this hairstyle, which it looks like it's a slightly different colour, but again, the different styles can make the hair look a different colour. But his hair is the same colour as Beth's. It is that sort of medium to light brown. And I've just put him into that sort of bow tie dress that I've had all my infants in. The time period that we're playing in, male and female children would have been put in these sort of dresses, mostly for easy access to change nappies and what have you, so I've been doing that with all the infants regardless of gender. And I'm changing his name to Victor, which is more period appropriate and location appropriate. So there we go, Victor MacLeod, and that again is the last child for this household. And that's our 2 households there, and that's all the changes made for this week. At the end of the episode, I'll do a summary of all the big life events and changes that happened. But with that in place, I'm going back to my main household, and we're moving forward. So one of the foxes wants to attack one of the rabbits, and I've actually never seen this happen before, because when I play in Henford on Bagley, I usually just play with 1 or 2 sims and I befriend the foxes, so they don't attack anything because I ask them not to, I ask them to be nice. But it looks like this is about to turn into a fight, which has never actually happened for me, so I'm just going to watch it just to see how it looks. Oh, it looks a bit dramatic. So I'm assuming the end shot of this is basically that the fox eats the rabbit, which is a bit morbid, but at least it's accurate to reality. Or it's not accurate to reality because the rabbit beats the fox and the fox runs away. Okay, I actually didn't know that could happen. I'll be avoiding that rabbit from now on though, because I do know that the Sims can die from death by rabbit, and that's obviously a particularly tough rabbit. Penny is still ill with her void illness, which is not great. Hopefully that will pass soon though, because she's due to give birth soon as well. And we're almost at the end of the week, which is our holiday for the week, and it's been autumn this week/year, so the end of week, end of year holiday is Bonfire Night. This is our second time having it in the Decades Challenge, but this is the first time having it with any of the children. So I'm going to be celebrating that with everyone and just making sure that everybody has a good holiday. And also at some point before we end off this week, this year, Penny should give birth to the last of the children for this household. So it is now the last day of the week, last day or end of the year. It's Bonfire Night, and there's a number of things they'll have to do to check off the holiday. Put up decorations, which we've already done. They're going to have the bonfire. Fireworks is on there. I haven't been doing fireworks yet. I'll do that more in modern times. And party spirit. So Anne doesn't acknowledge any of those traditions. I think the kids only acknowledge traditions when it's things like play games. But Alexander does acknowledge some of them, so I'll have to work on getting him checked off for some of these things so that he can have a good holiday. And I'll be working through with Penny and Rory as well to make sure they have a good holiday. Okay, so I think that's Alexander making some progress there. He actually acknowledges everything apart from put up decorations. But I think I only need to get, I think maybe 2 for him and 3 for the adults for them to check off and have a happy holiday. So if he has a happy party spirit and then goes and observes the bonfire or dances at the bonfire or whatever, that should check off for him to have a good holiday. Okay, so Rory is coming out to light the fire, and that's been enough. Lighting the fire and having the decorations up is enough for him to have had a happy, successful holiday. So I'm probably not going to do any more actions with him. I suppose the fire is the main part of the holiday, so if they check that and the decorations off, that must be enough. And it'll probably be enough for Alexander as well, so I'll just get Penny and Alexander to come out and do some interaction with the fire so that they too can check all the boxes and have a happy holiday. And again, Anne ignores all of the traditions, as you can see there, so I don't have to do anything with her for her to have a good holiday. Yeah, everyone has had a good holiday, and I've got Bruce and Stuart visiting, hanging about on the lot at the moment, mainly stealing the crops out of my garden. But that's us just about done with 1795. I'm really just waiting for Penny to give birth, and that will be the end of the year. We'll do our end of year summary, and that will be the end of the episode. But like I say, we're just hanging on for Penny now. And there she goes. Penny has gone into labour, and as you can see from her face there, she's still got the void ailment thing, unfortunately. It's not going to stop her having the baby, but hopefully, I was hoping she would be better before the end of the week, end of the year, but it looks like she's going into 1796 with this ailment, unfortunately. So I'm going to have her baby, and we'll see if it's a boy or a girl, and also if it's just one baby or if it's multiple babies. So here we go, and it's a girl. So we've got another girl in the family. So I'm just going to take from my list of names. Again, I'm naming all the children in the main household of this generation, names beginning with A. So we've had Alexander and Anne, and the next girl's name we've got is Audrey. So this baby will be Audrey. So there we have it there, Audrey MacDonald. And is Penny still in labour? Are we getting more than one baby? No, we're not. Okay, so it's just one baby, so there's just 3 children in this household, and 2 girls, so it's just as well that we did have a boy at the start, and I didn't game for that. I didn't eat the strawberries or the carrots, or obviously listen to any music, because there's no music playing devices in the house. But there we have it. So 3 children for this household, Alexander, Anne, and Audrey. So just a summary of what happened in 1795. At the start of the week, we're saying that was Beth aging up to an adult. Mary unfortunately died of old age, and that's the parents of the first generation gone now. After that, we had, in the second household, we had a 6th child born, who was a son, Victor. So the second household has 5 sons and 1 daughter. In our main household, Penny got pregnant. Alex, the oldest child, aged up from toddler to child. Then after that, Anne aged up from infant to toddler, and at the end of the week, after celebrating Bonfire night, Penny gave birth to her last child, another girl, Audrey. And that's where we are at for 1795. So again, I'm sorry that this episode took so long. I did have a lot of issues. I had quite a bit of cast to do with the various children and birthdays and things that we had, and because I went into build buy, and every time I went into cast and build buy, the game was causing me major issues, either lagging or crashing, and I was losing all my work. And it was difficult because of the amount of times I had to redo and re-record it. And even for the build buy, I couldn't show you a lot of the footage of what I did, because a lot of the recordings I had were of versions that the game didn't save because it crashed. And the final version, I don't actually have a recording of it. It probably isn't identical to the versions that I recorded previously, because I was just tired of trying to copy what I'd done before exactly, so I tried to do it from memory. So that's us for 1795. Thank you again for watching. I should have the last episode of my Asylum Challenge up next, and after that it will just be new episodes of the Decades series. And I am live streaming. I'm trying to live stream every weekday, Monday to Friday. I'm on from 6 PM UK time, which is GMT. If you're able to join in, join in. If not, you can maybe watch it afterwards. It's more just for a chance to have a chat, and if there's anything you want to speak to me about in particular. And on there, I am playing on my PC because I'm trying to migrate things from the console to the PC so that I'm not having quite as many issues. But with all of that, I will end the episode there. Thanks for watching.